for the last 8-9 years, I've seen the crime rate rise in Manalapan, and the reason is that the police force has decreased 25%. Not a lot of people know this, but that's what's going on. And what our current administration, the reason that they give is that they wanted to keep the taxes, down. So, in fact, they were sacrificing our security for this purpose. I think me, Brian, and David have other ideas. We want to bring economic development to our town. We have ideas that Ryan will go more into, and also David. And I think our town needs a new start. Our town needs new people to bring new ideas. And it's a lot of years have gone by, and nobody has done anything. And I think I will turn it over to Ryan or David, whoever would come first. And of course, my husband, he welcomes you all here.
Please reach out to your friends, family, members. That's how we're going to win this. We need support from each one of you to reach out to your family members, friends, relatives. Let's get it going. We need that support.
That's key.
Thank you. And thank you. I mean, again, really, this is a fantastic turnout. I was talking to a few of you today, and when I knock on doors and I see a turnout like this of people I know we can count on their support, and people who are going to go out there and ask their friends to support us as well, it energizes me. When I'm knocking on doors and you're seeing people, and sometimes it's pleasant, as I've talked to some of you on, and sometimes it's not so pleasant. When I see support like this, it reminds me of why I actually got involved in this in the first place. I got involved to make a huge difference, as you've already heard. A huge difference in a town that I've lived in for over 26 years. A huge difference in a town where I've raised 2 children who went to local public schools, all the way from kindergarten through Manalapan High School. And thank God, knock on wood, they've now graduated college so they can go pay their own bills. Not yet, but I'm trying. So I'm doing this to get involved so people like Ayesha and her family can have the same opportunities in a great town that I came to and my children grew up in. To re-energize, to reinvigorate the economic development so our property taxes stay where they need to be, but our values continue to rise in our town. I moved to Manalapan from New York in a community in Brooklyn where I couldn't afford to buy a house. And I was able to come here and provide a fantastic life for my family. And I could easily pick up and leave, but I care too much about this town. I couldn't make the commitment to run because I was working in New York, and in order to really put everything into it like I want to, like I have since I was asked to run back in, what was it, May or June? I can't even remember how long ago that was. I couldn't do that until now, until I took a job here in New Jersey. And we're going to make a difference. And with your help, were you out there getting your friends and family, as we've heard, to vote for us and help? We can win this thing. I am really pumped when I see a turnout like this on a Monday night in the rain. I'm so pumped, you have no idea. So I want to thank you for really re-energizing me. It's been a tough walk every weekend. It's been hot. Someone said, you look like you lost a lot of weight. I said, this is the best way to get in shape. You just keep knocking on doors. I used to weigh 350 pounds. No, I'm only kidding.
Just watch out for the dog.
We need your help. We need your help, and we really need the help of everyone.
Don't take it away from the governor, 350 pounds.
Yeah. We really need the help. We really need the support that you can help us gather from your friends and family. So please help us do that. We need your vote. We need their vote, and we're going to win this thing. Thanks. I'll turn it over to Ryan.
Thanks. Well, thank you everybody again for coming. I'll get right to it. I wanted to also thank Ayesha and Asim for graciously hosting. This is a great turnout. We are all much obliged for everybody's attendance. What I'll say briefly is that as far as township races go, this is a big year. 3 seats are up. The 3rd seat by virtue of a quirk in a resignation. And that's a big deal because what that means is we now have the opportunity to gain control for the first time in a number of years. And the stakes couldn't be higher in this particular year in Manalapan. If you think about the incumbents and what's gone on in the town, I think, and what we're going to submit to you guys and then to the broader voters is that single-party rule hasn't been kind to Manalapan because the folks that have been in power have really just kind of been on autopilot and have enriched themselves at the expense of the public trust. And we think that that's wrong, and we think that this gives us a golden opportunity not just to change that guard up, but to present a completely fresh set of eyes and new blood, not just for the party, but for the township. The three of us are all complete outsiders to the process. We're all working professionals. We all have families in town. We don't have any of the pre-existing baggage, nor do we have any of the kind of ancient history that I think has plagued Manalapan politics for a long time. And it shouldn't be the case in a in a good suburban township. So we're going to have a lot of ideas, and we're happy to take some questions at the end around what we're going to be running for, what we're going to stand for. What I want to do now, in the interest of time, is transition to our two keynote speakers of the evening. First up is a gentleman that you all know. He is our county chairperson, and he has been a tremendous asset to this campaign. He's been a real friend. I'll tell you, I wouldn't have gotten into this race if he didn't inspire enough confidence in me that the county was really behind the party. And I think what you'll see in actually not just our keynote, but also in Joe Grillo, these guys really, really stepped up the game and made it safe for guys like me to come off the sidelines and actually get out there and run. And so what I think you see this year, in addition to the stakes being really high with the issues, is a real sense of common purpose and a real team effort this time around. So it's my distinct pleasure to turn the floor over to Vin Gopal, Monmouth County Chairman.
With the weather this bad, it's great to see so many people out. Please, another round of applause, not just for our three candidates, but for our host today. We couldn't have had three better candidates. I had an event that I did yesterday in Marlborough for Mayor Hornick, and as I'm leaving, he whispers in my ear, he goes, there's other towns besides Manalapan. Stop talking about Manalapan.
Good.
We are so focused on making sure we win this race in Manalapan. We have a poll going out in the field tomorrow. We're going to make sure we have the financial resources to get mail and messaging. Three excellent candidates with excellent stories that care about this community. If you look at the newspapers, the last 3 weeks, we've had more than a dozen burglaries in Manalapan alone. That's a direct effect of this mayor and his administrations to cut nearly a quarter of the police department. 25% of the police department cut, and now there's been 12 new burglaries throughout Manalapan. We have a Mayor Lucas who resigned this morning. They have the Republicans all resigning every time they get into a new scandal. Stole essentially $1 million of taxpayer money off a farmland deal. He took the money, he ran, and now he's under a cloud of suspicion. He had the public in Manalapan put their trust in this man and this administration to watch their taxpayer dollars to make sure it was going to help the town, and that's not what happened. So we have an opportunity to turn this town around, to elect three private citizens who are not career politicians, who just want to make their town better, who want to make the town better for their kids and their grandkids. So we couldn't be more thrilled with everything. I want to recognize our executive director, Joe Grillo. Joe will sometimes get a 3 a.m. call from me saying, "Why doesn't Ayesha have her voter list yet?" So he's not he gets it.
Me too.
Yeah, okay, good. And Joe, and where's Kelsey, who's helping him?
Yes.
Kelsey in the back there.
All right, Kelsey.
We have a great staff with Danielle and Mitch. I'm a volunteer. We have a staff that works full-time for the Monmouth County Democrats. Their focus is not just on Manalapan, but all the towns and working hard. I want to recognize also our councilman from our neighboring town in Aberdeen, Greg Cannon. So this is a great applause. We need you to grab a lawn sign, grab 2 lawn signs, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. When you go into those voting booths, make sure you have one person on each side of you. Bring them in. Tell them we need to change the direction of this town. Otherwise, we will have problems in the upcoming years. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing someone who's been a friend for many years, taught me a lot about politics. I gave him very short notice for this event a couple days ago. I called him, said, "Can you come?" He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll be there." So he's been terrific as the mayor of Franklin Township. as a 6th-term assemblyman where he represents Middlesex County and Somerset counties, New Brunswick and Piscataway, and has been a great, great friend to Monmouth County, been very supportive of the Democratic Party here in Manalapan. Please welcome Assemblyman Upendra Shivakula.
Wow, this is Monmouth County. This is fantastic. I come from Somerset County, which is a predominantly Republican county, and the town I come from is Franklin Township. It was like this, they had 8-to-1 Republican council members, and so we put together a plan, and 3 years we changed that from 8-to-1 Democrats. So it's possible. I mean, that's what you have 3 great candidates in Ryan, Ayesha, and David, and it's fantastic that the energy, the enthusiasm, and you have all the issues that are going for you. One piece of advice is that stay away from the governor. Do not bring the governor into the race, because people who may vote for the governor, they also may vote for you. So just because that's for us. So we are at the state level, we deal with that issue. Your issue should be, focus should be the local issues. I think the crime is a very important thing. People are always, they move to Manalapan because they want to live in a safe neighborhood. And if they have the same thing where that happens in other parts, then that defeats the purpose. So I think that's a great thing. I don't know how many of you have gone to the council meetings and spoken. That's good. That's important. And another thing important is that volunteers make a big difference. I think you need to, each and every one of the people from Manalapan goes out and gets 10 volunteers, and that really multiplies. I think that's what we need. What this election, based on what we read in the polls and all that, is basically who comes out to the polls. And targeting, micro-targeting, that President Obama's campaign, I think Win, I'm sure he has that data with him in terms of doing the micro-targeting. That is very, very important. I don't know, you have debates coming up, and
on Wednesday.
Yeah, prepare well, and don't go negative. Just to talk about, a lot of times, most of the candidates I know, they spend time on telling how bad the other person is, instead of talking about yourself. I think that's the most important thing. You have a doctor and a social worker, and people who have done so many things, who have affected so many lives, are willing to give their time to run for political office. That's commendable. I think that's what you should highlight. And if you can get the people, who are willing to come out and vote on that day, I think that will be fantastic. That's what you need to do. And I tell you, I think money, of course, when Gopal said he's going to give all the money, that's encouraging.
I'm going to ask you something for a donation right before we leave.
Ticket number. I have so many phones all over the state. They call me. And I think, I'm sure you are raising some money. I think you should also, because what happens is that even if you get $5 from somebody, that goes a long way, because it's like investment. If they invest $5 in you, that means definitely they're going to make sure that $5 makes a difference. I think that's why fundraising is important. It's not so much you have to raise $1 million, but I think if you can get 2,000 people giving you $5, that's $10,000. That's a lot of money. And I think that's what do not be shy about raising money. Money is quite important. And then getting the volunteers, that's very important. I have been, I was a Democratic chair, not at the county level, but I was at the Franklin Township level. I was a Democratic chair, then I got elected to the town council. I served there and became mayor, and served about 8 years in the township. Then I went to the state legislature in the year 2001, and I got elected in 2001, 6 weeks after 9/11. So it was a very testing times for the United States, and there was a lot of distrust. I had trouble. Some people didn't want to shake hands with me, but you can overcome those obstacles. Once people put that trust in you, I think they'll vote for you. I think that's what the critical thing is. And knocking on doors is nothing like it. If you can do it, you can knock on all the doors. I think that'll be, time is limited, but I think if you can do that, that'll be, not only that, if you can get some of the representatives, if you have state level, we don't have many state level here, they're all Republicans, I think.
Only been here a year.
Right now, I'm sure right now. And Congressman, I think Malone represents this area.
He had been.
Yeah, if you can get him once to walk with you, just gives a nice splash in the newspaper, in the media. I think it doesn't have to work a lot. It just comes with Frank Pallone is coming there. I think that will also help you. I think it's a question of making the news. Right? Now, don't become the news, but make the news. I think that's very important. Sometimes we get into politics and we become the news. That's very dangerous. Like your mayor, Lucas, $1 million missing in action. That's not a good news. And you can hammer that. I think that's what you need to do. That's what I did when I became a campaign manager in what year was that? 1995. I was a campaign manager. I don't know much about politics, but I put together 5 fine candidates. I trained them, made sure that we had. I started very early. I started trying to bring out the attention of the people that what's wrong with the township and what the direction we are heading is wrong and how we can fix it. And so it resonated. The message resonated. It took about a few months, but it resonated. I think that's what you got to stay on message. I hope you have a stump speech. Do you have a stump speech? You should have a stump speech.
You just gave it, you didn't even know it.
But you need to have that because you got to hammer the same point. The three of you, when you go out and talk, you should not be saying 3 different things. You should say the same thing because that way, more times people will listen to that. It is going to resonate with the people. I think that's what you need to do. And I think even though people say it's the governor is going to win, I'm sure the governor will buy. I don't know, projecting 15 point, 10 point, whatever it is. But it's going to be a lot closer. I think Senator Bono and Millie Silva have done a good job in trying to bring the thing. Right now the focus is on U.S. Senate election. Another week it will be October 16th. I don't know how many of you know there's an election on next Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right.
How many of you know? Only 4 or 5 people. Remember, this is a very special election, a special gift of Governor Christie to the state of New Jersey. He kept it in the middle of, nobody pays attention, and usually elections, Tuesdays and elections go together. He made sure it was not a Tuesday. So it's a Wednesday.
It's only going to cost you $20 million.
$24 million, yeah. This morning, what is that? It's going to cost a lot of money, and people, I don't know what the turnout is going to be, but that's one thing. Don't forget to vote on October 16th. But I think after October 16th, it's going to really pick up, and that's what, that short 3-week period, we need to really work it and then get the message. And I think sometimes, in this town, I don't know how it works with the bonus message and all. You have to figure that out. That's the strategy for Gopal. But I think the key is that you have to stay focused on the issues, and those are local. Forget about the state issues. You're not going to be able to reduce the property taxes. I have seen every elected official come and say, I will reduce the property taxes. Now the Governor Christie said he has the vision to reduce the taxes. He doesn't want to actually reduce the taxes. He has the vision that he will have reduced the taxes. Hopefully he does that before he goes to his presidential campaign. I think that local issues are critical, and a lot of people are not paying attention. I think a lot of Democrats will want to make sure all the Democrats come out. They create a phone banking and then make sure that each of you try to drag them out. All the Democrats have to come out. And the independents, you have to be careful. They could go either way. So you want to make sure that you target the right type of independent who come out and support. And if you can reach out to all of them and they know, I think in local elections, what I found from my experience, if they meet you and they like you, it doesn't matter what the party is. Having said that, don't risk it. Don't go to a Republican home. You don't want to do that. At least don't bring them out because it's going to hurt everybody else. That's what I think you need to do. I think you have a great race going, and you have to work hard between now and if you don't buy a new pair of shoes, that means you haven't done enough walking. That's what it is. I think the dynamics is such that the demographics have changed. A lot of people are coming out, and a lot of them are apathetic. So you want to bring them out. Tell them what is at stake. Make it their pocketbook, their security, their issue. That make it their children's education. That's what you have to make it. It's not about you. It's about their thing. And if you make it like that, and people will come out. Okay. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate the assemblyman coming out, busy schedule, he's up for re-election himself, and I know it's a long drive from Franklin. Why don't we turn it over to our three candidates for any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, prayers that you guys want to...
Yeah, all the above.
Let's make two who should face east.
Does anyone have any questions about from the audience?
How much do you get for each vote?
I think we have.
He said, don't make the news.
Go ahead.
No,
All
don't
right.
make the news.
What are your get out the vote efforts so people can come and phone bank and get their friends out, stuff like that?
We have a pretty extensive operation this year. I probably, in order to do it justice, should turn that over to Grillo, because he's really the mastermind.
Yeah, we have daily phone banks over at our office in Hazlitt, and if anyone wants to come and do phone banking, you're more than welcome to come to our office. If you want to do it from home, we can email you the lists as well with a script, and we're calling every day. And then I believe, when's the day of action?
19th.
The 19th, very, very important.
Huge day.
The 19th, we're having a day of action in Manalapan, where we're gathering all of our volunteers together to go and knock on doors all over Manalapan. So the way that works is we're all going to meet at, Kelsey, what time are we meeting for the day of action?
Like 10 or 11.
Okay, so like 10, about 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock. We're going to be meeting over at the parking lot by Panera, over by Cheeseburger over there at, I forget, the Best Buy shopping center there. And we're going to be giving out maps with lists of houses that we need to that we've targeted, that we're going to be knocking on their doors. And basically, we are asking everyone to come out and help us with this day of action. That's the day where we're going to get the word out about all the candidates and really push hard, make a hard push for Ayesha, Ryan, and David that day. So it's October 19th. I believe that's a Saturday, right?
It's a Saturday.
Saturday. And it's going to be right at Panera Bread on Route 9. So if you could all come out, you can give your information to Kelsey. We'll be able to give you a call and remind you a couple times. Hopefully you won't get too many phone calls from us reminding you about it, but it's super important. Like the candidates have said, like Chairman Gopal and Assemblyman Chivakula have said, this is an important election for Manalapan. We're talking about a year where we could take control and we could leave the era of Andrew Lucas and all that baggage and all that history in our rearview mirror and start a new chapter in Manalapan. So I really hope that all of you can come out for that day of action. Thank you very much.
I gotta say, the first time Ryan and I, when we were talking to Ayesha to try to convince her to run, that was interesting. She was not eager to go knock on strangers' doors and say, vote for me.
Yeah.
And now I think she's knocked on more than both of you combined, which is a different problem that we gotta. But if you can give an hour, if you can give 2 hours, if you're more comfortable making phone calls, if you're comfortable maybe helping us with letters to the editor. There are newspapers in town that people read. If you can write a letter to the editor, if you're comfortable licking stamps and putting them on envelopes. There are so many different volunteer tasks that can be done to help these three candidates. And we all do everything we can, because on November 6th, that's it. And then
November 5th.
November 6th, we'll know it.
Oh, okay. Make sure everyone gets out there.
We met with our attorney before, Bill Northgrave, who we were, just in case it's a close election, we want to be prepared. So please, everything you can do to help these three, because they are giving their time away from their family, from their businesses, to try to make this town better. And I know that you appreciate everything you can do.
So how many of you are going to volunteer? Come on, let's make a list. Make a list. What do you like to do?
That's good. Hey, that's 3 or 4 more than we had before we walked in. Yeah, that's great.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, if there are any comments, I mean, not to put anybody on the spot. If there are any, there don't have to be, but if you guys do have questions, particularly the folks that live in town, about what's on the agenda, if you've got any advice, we're all ears.
And
Except for the crime issue that you see, what other issues do you see with the town that are?
Well, I can tell you that I think that the crime issue is an outgrowth of a larger problem. Nobody would look at Manalapan and say, oh my gosh, it's crime-ridden, right? I think what we've seen is a slightly disturbing upward trend in petty theft for the most part. But it's symptomatic of a larger problem. And the problem, in my view, is that the township has not done enough short-term, medium-term, and long-term planning. As I have a certification as a project manager, and I can kind of look on to the governing body and see that they don't really have a strong plan for future revenue growth, right? Because there's two sides to the coin when it comes to balancing the budget and keeping taxes stable, which is everyone's priority when they get into office. And it's spending cuts for revenue growth. And they've really, they've trimmed as much fat off the bone as they possibly can on the spending side. And they've actually gone beyond that, and they've actually cut into public services in a way that we think is concerning. And that's really that's where the crime issue comes into play, because the police force is the same size today that it was in the 80s when we were half the population. Okay? That's not anybody's idea of good municipal management. My view is there needs to be a more concerted effort to bring revenue into the town through a robust, proactive economic growth program. And if you look at what the township's doing right now, and I've seen it with my own two eyes on the finance committee, there's not enough of an effort proactively to bring business back to Manalapan, because you need to bring revenue, you need to bring ratables into the town to keep those taxes stable. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then the only zero-sum trade-off year after year that you're going to have to rely on is service cuts, right? And that's a tired routine that I think that they've exhausted pretty much by the end of last year's budget cycle. So I think there needs to be more economic growth, there needs to be more revenue, and there needs to be more forward thinking about how to strategically draw that revenue into the town. So that's kind of a bit of a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
If we elect you today, how are you going to change that?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well,
But when you say you're going to grow the revenue,
Yeah.
some people are thinking that, are you going to raise the taxes?
No, when I say revenue
The point
growth,
is that,
no.
I got it. The next
Oh, you're
thing
saying
is that
from a
when you say you're
messaging,
going to grow the revenue, you got to come up with some example
Sure.
that what you are going to do.
Right.
You got to be a little bit more. It can't be 100% specific, but say a little bit more about that.
If I can jump in. If you take a look at their website, one of the things we're looking at, and it's a common problem where they're not hands-on. Look at the waste management contracts in town, the health insurance brokers. They could easily go to Marlboro, they can go to neighboring towns and say, let's consolidate and let's try to get a better rate so it saves taxpayers money. Those are two of many areas where they just do not look at it. The garbage collection, there's areas in town that money is not being spent the way it is. And you look at your tax bills, you look at those services. The negotiations they've had with the public employee unions in town the last couple of years have not been good. So there are countless issues where if we get these three in, that they can start aggressively looking at it, and their collective experiences, I think, will have. I guarantee if you go to the governing body right now, Mayor Lucas, who resigned this morning, has no idea what's being spent on town hall, where it's being spent. He knows the $1 million he got, but he doesn't know any of the other issues, and I think that's what's important. We all in our own lives have our own pocketbooks, and we look what comes in and we look what goes out, and that's what government needs to do. That's what it needs to do here in Manalapan. Yep. And I think this is what those three, their experiences bring to the table in doing that.
Yeah.
Last week or so, there was a township council members at a meeting at Four Seasons, and the question of ratables had come up. What are we doing? Case being village thing has been going on for 10 years. And one of the standard mantra of Republican Party in Manalapan, they say, oh, we don't want to bring too many commercial things because we want to maintain the quality of life. I mean, that has been their mantra ever since I have been here. And every time you put that question up as to bringing the revenue up, they're going to turn to their own good old mantra. Say, no, we want to have a quality of life. Manalapan is a affluent town comparatively. Manalapan, Marlboro. And that kind of resonates with the people. Primarily Republican anyway. So, what I mean, David's advocate, how are you going to counter that argument?
But I could get.
You want to take it? I mean, you take a look at a few different things. You talk about You know, they don't want to bring commercial businesses into town. Just take a ride up and down Route 9 and take a look at how many empty businesses that were already there that aren't there now. Those are empty buildings that the town is not collecting taxes and revenues on. You know, we go there and we shop. What are we getting? Marlboro has a great shopping plan, right? Why don't we have that here? We know there's plans in place. What's taking so long to do that? I'd rather have a business that's already was existing, that's gone out of business, and have a business there bringing revenue into a town. When Ryan talks about revenue growth or economic development growth, that's what it's about. Don't scare businesses away. Don't make it tough for businesses to come into town. The buildings are already there. They're vacant. And it's not just Route 9. It's the little strip malls, not just on Route 9, but in the little other areas. These are mom and pop businesses that went out of business for different reasons.
There was an issue like that, where somebody had mentioned that this is empty, and then somebody said, no, it's out of Manalapan, it's freehold, so it doesn't matter. So they were kind
It's
of,
not.
oh, no, they were kind of off the hook, that's very easy.
If you look at Manalapan right now, Manalapan is very diverse. Zoning laws are very different from town to town.
Yeah.
And zoning laws is basically, one of the major criteria for bringing business. Because why would a business want to come in a town where there are 2-3 acres and there is no real commercial properties, right? So, I mean, this is a great residential town, but bringing, from the business standpoint, nobody wants to come in Manila.
And I think the issue that you're talking about, nobody wants to overcrowd the township or impact the quality of life negatively. So clearly, we would all be in favor of open spaces, right? But there's a middle ground between open spaces and suburban sprawl. Nobody's talking about creating strip malls up and down and congestion and even worse, more residential building that really just is going to eat into rateables and put more upward pressure on taxes.
I'm not questioning that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that we need to have a counter argument that will resonate with the people.
Sure.
That's what I'm
have
saying.
new businesses that open like the CVS, the Walgreens, the Wawa, all have been done in the current regime, and it's been done. So why do you think you would do something better than what has been already done?
Well, I'll give you one example. On the finance committee, one of the things we did was we sat down with the economic development committee in town. The economic development committee in town is supposed to be the group that really goes out and draws new business into the township, right? They're supposed to be kind of the vehicle that the township relies upon to be in touch with the business community. A couple years ago, they rezoned Route 33. They redid the master plan to enable additional usages on 33 to try to help bring some economic development to the township. Data centers, restaurants, and a grocery store were among the new usages that they added. Well, that was a few years back. And I can tell you from seeing it up close and personal, the EDC has not one proactive plan to attract business. They don't have one PR campaign to bring businesses into the town. And there hasn't been one business of those usages that they've added that they've actually attracted to the highway. So my view is, where is that sense of empowerment where they've got folks, volunteers on that committee that are actually doing their job and working back with the township to avail themselves of the usages that they approve? That's one area that I think is idle, and it's been that way for a long time. And I think it owes to effective project management, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
That's a good point. You should bring that out,
We intend to.
If I can add, the other thing you look at in Manalapan, you want to open a business, you're local, you want to open a pizzeria, deli, fire extinguisher fee, this fee, that fee, the amount of square feet. Before you even start, you're thousands of dollars in. Without even understanding you have all these vacancies and you need to bring your tax base better, you need to bring these in. They don't have that common sense to say, how do we look at these and bring these type of businesses in? CVS and Walgreens, for the most part, are coming from the franchise. But to get local businesses, good businesses, diverse businesses, you have to make the town business friendly. You have to cut the red tape. And that's something that this mayor is not doing.
Have you done a business walk? Knock on some of the mom and pop shops, ask them what are the issues. Great idea. And that way,
We haven't one that's solely focused on
you
business.
should do that. You should do
That's a good
that.
idea.
In between knocking doors.
Yep.
Find out their concerns.
It's usually when the business time, when it's not a peak business, but you can go there, tell them, look, we are running for council, and we'd like to know what your problems are.
Great idea.
Take some notes, and then you can come up with a plan based on what the problems are. You can highlight that.
Terrific point.
You guys gonna be around for a bit?
Yeah, we're not going
All right,
anywhere.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.